Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trades Talk. I am your host, Pop Culture Mechanic. You can just call me Pop, but we're heavy on the mechanic today. As you well know, those of you that have tuned in before, Tuesday's the day that I cut loose with some of my industrial knowledge, and I want to spread that around for everyone to enjoy and maybe learn a few things and decide that maybe they'd want to take up a skilled trade or something to that effect. And I'd like to just welcome Jake D. It's always good to see you, Jake D. I hope you got your RAM ready for your upgrade and your SSD for your computer. I'm eagerly awaiting that. And welcome DJ Ronnie G. You're double juggling streams for a few minutes, but hey, that's okay. I've been known to do that myself. I have my iMac and my laptop, and sometimes I'll watch one stream on my Mac and one stream on my laptop, just so that, spread around the old watch time for everybody. All right, so as I so often do, I'm going to check out what's going on out in industry, because if you can see what's going on in the news and industry, you can get sort of an idea what the economy's doing. And for that, we'll turn to Plant Magazine, and we'll see what is going on since the last time we checked in. So the last time we checked in, when was that? Would have been the 3rd. Okay, here we go. Striking auto workers and Detroit companies appear to make progress in contract talks. They're being in Postal Service possession, but are expected in week. Okay, good, JT, good. It's time for Comrade Magazine. Hi, Whoopa. Good to see you. Yeah, just checking out how things are going. We'll see whether things are going well. Striking auto workers and Detroit companies appear to make progress. Yes, got that one. Novavax touts non-mRNA COVID-19 vaccine, hopefully to meet domestic production deadline. Well, I sure hope not. I sure hope we don't need any more vaccines. I thought we all had herd immunity now. Aren't we all good? We're good now. At least I think I am. Comrade Leader, here, now? Comrade Leader is everywhere. He's watching you. It says here, auto sales jumped 19% in September, driven by improved supply. So I guess that's okay. I hope it gets to a point where the auto dealers can't run you through the ringer because they know they're the only game in town when you want to buy a new car. If they have an excess of stock, then you can start telling them, hey, I want to pay less. I don't want to pay what you guys want to pay. But let's see what the striking auto workers have to say. Oh, and I am broadcasting on Kick, Rumble, Twitch, and the usual YouTube. Detroit. Meaningful progress has been made in negotiations between the striking United Auto Workers Union and Detroit's 3 auto companies, according to a person with direct knowledge of the talks. The person said Wednesday that progress was reported at all 3 companies, with some offers being exchanged. Another said there was a movement in talks with Jeep maker Stellantis, with less at Ford and General Motors. Neither person wanted to be identified because they aren't authorized to speak publicly about the bargaining. And yet here they are talking to the people. Hey, Ronan. Good to see you, man. We're just checking up on this old auto strike here. Union President Shawn Fain will update members Friday on bargaining towards bringing to an end the nearly 3-week-old strikes against the companies. It wasn't clear exactly what Fain will announce as part of the union's strategy of targeted strikes against the companies, with automakers perceived as making progress in the talks being spared additional job actions. But the report of progress raises the possibility that the union may decide not to expand its walkouts. At one or more of the companies, the union has so far limited the strike to about 25,000 workers at 5 vehicle assembly plants and 38 parts warehouses. Spain has announced strike expansions on each of the past 2 Fridays. Ford said Tuesday that it increased its offer to the union on Monday night, but provisions made public by the company were close to previous offers. The company said its 7th offer raised the general wage increase to over 20% over 4 years without compounding. It also said the company raised its 401k retirement contributions and confirmed profit sharing was offered to temporary workers. Those workers also would see a pay raise from $16.67 per hour to $21. Ford, which had made early progress, was spared for the second round of strikes, and its parts warehouses remain open. Stellantis was exempted last week when the union added assembly plants at Ford in Chicago and GM in Lansing, Michigan. So far, the union has avoided strikes at large pickup trucks and SUV factories, vehicles that are responsible for much of the automaker's profits. The union has about 146,000 members at all 3 companies combined. The targeted strike strategy helped to preserve the UAW strike fund, which was $825 million before the strikes began on September 15th. GM and Ford have laid off over 3,500 UAW workers at plants not covered by the strikes. Those workers will get union strike pay of $500 a week. The UAW contends the companies have made billions of dollars in profits during the past decade and raised CEO pay so they can afford to boost workers' wages. The union is seeking 36% general wage increases over 4 years, as well as a return of cost of living increases, a 32-hour week with 40 hours of pay. That I don't agree with. 32 hours a week with 40 hours of pay, so you get an 8-hour day free for not being there. That doesn't work. That doesn't fly with me. You work, you get paid. You don't work, you don't get paid. The restoration of traditional defined benefit pensions for new hires, among other benefits. It also wants to represent workers at 10 joint venture electric vehicle battery factories in the U.S. that have been proposed by the companies. Oh yeah, they want to get in on there. Okay. The companies, however, fear that raising their labor costs could make their vehicles more expensive than those manufactured by Tesla or foreign automakers with U.S. factories where workers are paid less. Their vehicles are expensive as it is. GM on Wednesday announced that it's lined up a line of credit of up to $6 billion in light of the strike. The company said it's being prudent in the face of uncertainty. GM also said it estimates the strike cost the company about $200 million in lost production in the third quarter. The union has dropped unfair labor practice charges filed against GM and Stellantis that had accused the companies of failing to bargain in good faith ahead of the strikes. So, as usual, it's slow, plodding. You remember how Pharaoh dealt with disgruntled workers in Egypt? Yeah, taste of the lash there, I think. Bet if we cut their wages and make them machine their own parts before assembling them, that'll teach them. Yeah, they got to watch out. I mean, if they can do more automation, they're going to. If it cuts down on people, so they got to be careful. The auto sales jumped up 19% in September. Exchange Income Corp buys Dry Air Manufacturing for $60 million in cash and shares. U.S. announces sweeping action against Chinese fentanyl supply chain producers. Why do they have fentanyl supply chain? What's up with that? Let's read this. What the hell is going on here? The Biden administration took aim Tuesday at the fentanyl trafficking threat, announcing a series of indictments and sanctions against Chinese companies and executives blamed for importing the chemicals used to make the deadly drug. Officials described the actions, which include charges against 8 Chinese companies accused of advertising, manufacturing, and distributing precursor chemicals for synthetic opioids like fentanyl, as the latest effort in their fight against the deadliest overdose crisis in U.S. history. The move comes one day before senior administrative officials are set to visit Mexico, whose cartels are part of the global trafficking network, for meeting The meeting is expected to involve discussion of the drug threat. It's necessary so the feds have jobs. Ah, I see, DJ Ronnie G. Yeah. Government is telling China fentanyl? That's our market. If you were a junkie, you'd kill for those precursor chems. Okay, what I want to know is, like, stuff is so deadly. You know, why are you going after China? Can't you just, stop it at the border? Either that or Joe Biden is trying to make drugs safer for his... Well, Hunter, here you go. Here's some of the stuff I promised you. Sleepy Joe. Yeah, crazy. I do know that fentanyl is really deadly because we would have to, when I worked in the waste management industry, you never knew what you were going to brush your hands. You had to always wear gloves. You had to always wear gloves and make sure that, nothing touched you, because if it would absorb into your skin and get into your bloodstream, and that was it. You could overdose just by touching something that was coated in fentanyl. So it was very dangerous. There's just crazy stuff that you had to always be careful of, because people just throw everything away. Stop things at the border. Yes, JP, I know. So many types of fentanyl, and some of them are so strong that a grain of it can kill. Yep. Yeah, it was just right through the skin. Yep. Yes, as well as transdermal. Exactly. You got her, DJ Ronnie G. You got her. It continues. We know that this network includes the cartel's leaders, their drug traffickers, their money launderers, their clandestine lab operators, their security forces, their weapons suppliers, and their chemical suppliers. Attorney General Merrick Garland said at a news conference, and we know that this global fentanyl supply chain, which ends with the deaths of Americans, often starts with chemical companies in China. Besides charging 8 companies, the Justice Department also indicted 12 executives for their alleged roles in drug trafficking. In a coordinated action, the Treasury Department announced sanctions against 28 people and companies, mostly in China, but also in Canada, that will cut them off from the U.S. financial system and prohibit anyone in the U.S. from doing business with them. None of those charged have been arrested, but Garland said prosecutors intended to bring every one of these defendants to justice. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. What happens when they put the first Chinese guy in jail? What's going to happen then? I bet guaranteed any American, Canadian that are in China, arrested right away for nothing. So my advice to anybody that's in China right now, get out. Just get out of there. Leave that place. Why do you like it there? The government is just garbage. So get out of China. Don't stay there. It's the latest step in the rapid scaling up of our work targeting the financial flows that power the global illicit drug trade, said Deputy Treasury Secretary Wally Adeyemo. Said Treasury is also seeking out the friends, family members, and affiliates of the people who benefit from drug sales. If you benefit from the proceeds of this illicit activity, we're going to come after your assets, he said. Mexico and China are primary sources of fentanyl and fentanyl-related substances trafficked directly into the U.S., according to the Drug Enforcement Administration, which is tasked with combating illicit drug trafficking. Nearly all the precursor chemicals that are needed to make fentanyl come from China. And the companies that make the precursors routinely use fake return addresses and mislabel the products in order to avoid being caught by law enforcement. One of the examples cited by the Justice Department involves a Chinese pharmaceutical technology company that advertised xylazine, a horse tranquilizer that is often mixed to fentanyl to ensure a more potent high, and shipped the chemicals to the U.S. and to Mexico. One of the purchasers in Mexico, officials said, was a drug trafficker associated with the Sinaloa cartel. The latest action follows a series of measures taken this year against members of the Sinaloa cartel, cash couriers, and cartel fraud schemes. Republicans have complained, however, that the administration isn't doing enough to stop fentanyl, and the issue is likely to figure prominently in next year's presidential campaign. In February 21, Republican State Attorney General wrote a letter to President Joe Biden and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken calling on them to designate Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Last year, a group of Republican attorneys general asked the president to declare fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. No such actions have been taken. But I thought the Biden administration cared about everyone. What happened? I thought they love everybody and want to take care of them. Now, why wouldn't they declare that fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction or that the cartels are terrorists? Why is that? I wonder. I thought they cared about you guys. I'm disappointed. I really am. ¿O hablos inglés? ¿Hablamos? I don't speak Spanish, so. Now you come up here to Canada, maybe we can talk together, Jake D. I take you, we go get some poutine and get some good beer at the dépanneur, yeah? Fentanyl is a powerful opioid. It is the deadliest drug in the U.S. today. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention states that drug overdose deaths have increased more than sevenfold from 2015 to 2021. More than 100,000 deaths a year have been linked to drug overdoses since 2020, and about 2/3 of those related to fentanyl. The death toll is more than 10 times as many drug deaths as in 1988, at the height of the crack epidemic. I think it's just because you can make fentanyl super easy and cheap, and it's much less processing to do, like cocaine and all that stuff. So it's more deadly, like crazy. That's fine. I don't speak English. Don't talk French to Jake D. It gets him riled up. Oh, what I wouldn't give for some croissant and some wine with my fromage. State lawmakers nationwide are responding to the deadliest overdose crisis in U.S. history by pushing harsher penalties for possessing fentanyl. Well, maybe, yeah, possessing it, but if they find the people making it and trafficking in it, I think that should be some harsh penalties. In his speech at the Family Summit on fentanyl last week, Garland said the Justice Department was sending out some $345 million in federal funding over the next year, including money to support mentoring for at-risk young people and increase access to the overdose reversal drug naloxone. At Capitol Hill, a bipartisan group of legislators out of the Senate Banking and Armed Services Committees has introduced legislation that would declare fentanyl trafficking a national emergency and prod Treasury to use its sanctions authority to quell the proliferation of the drug in the U.S. It would also impose reporting requirements and enable the president to confiscate sanctioned property of fentanyl traffickers to use for law enforcement efforts. But we got an emergency situation here. Soccer or blue. Make him stop. Mobilize our forces. I know letting Europe keep a foothold here would come back to bite us in the stooge. Naloxone Narcan reverses overdoses by yanking opioids from the receptors. It doesn't always work with strong fentanyl. Okay, I did not know that, DJ Ranji. Bring in the knowledge here. Nicely done. So, it's in the government's best interest to keep people doped up on fentanyl. Because if you're all doped up and an addict, you don't care what the government does to you as long as you get your next hit. And I was on Twitter today when just a second. I was on Twitter and apparently something came up from the idiot in chief here up in Canada. I have to find it here. Trying to find here replies. There we go. Yes. No, it wasn't from the idiot. It was from our national broadcasting station, the CBC. And it came up with this, and I saw that Floral had commented on it, so I was like, you know what, I got to it too. It says 5 years later, public health experts say cannabis legalization hasn't created any health benefits, but it has been linked to some serious concerns. My response was, it makes people stupid and lazy, exactly what the government wants out of people, because they don't want people to be active, healthy, be able to think for themselves. They just want you to be stupid, lazy, do what they say, obey without question. And I'm not into that. It makes me disgusted that that's what the government is all about now. Control of the people. And I hope you guys in the US there, I hope they crack down on that fentanyl junk and just get rid of it completely. Try to wipe it out or help get people to get them help. It's a terrible thing. Thousands of U.S. workers are on strike today. Here's a rundown of major work stoppages happening now. Auto worker strike highlights disparities between temporary and permanent employees. Self-employment pulls back as younger Canadians shy away from entrepreneurship. Really? It's a form of chemical warfare. Yeah, you got her. You got her, DJ Ronnie G. Younger Canadians don't want to be their own bosses, intensifying the slowdown in entrepreneurship in Canada, according to a new RBC report. Okay, so not everyone will be an entrepreneur. Not everyone has that goal, that drive, that goal, whatever they want to be their own boss or invent something or whatever. Not everyone has that drive. And maybe this next generation is just, it's been beat out of them, or they just don't get it. They all want to be like YouTube famous or TikTok stars or whatever, influencers. I don't know if they even want to get into like running their own business. In terms of bio, not like the normal chemical warfare. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. More like neurological warfare or psychological warfare, really, if that's what it comes down to. The decline in self-employment rate is also being amplified by soaring inflation, strong labor market, and uncertainty caused by the pandemic. While self-employment rates for younger Canadians aged 35 to 44 have always tended to be lower compared to with older cohorts, the report says the share of younger people seeking to be their own boss has fallen to 2% from 3.3% in 1998. Cynthia Leach, Assistant Chief Economist at RBC, suggests strong labor markets and higher hourly wages for employees are likely contributing factors to the slowdown in self-employment. The report shows a professional, scientific, or technical services employee earns 20% more than self-employed individuals, while also enjoying flexible hours, which used to be a perk limited to those who are self-employed. Leach says she doesn't see the trend in declining entrepreneurship reversing despite the expected softening of the job market next year, as the higher cost of living and continued wage increases make paid employment a more enticing option. Yeah, okay. Well, it's not for everyone. Okay, this is concerning IMF chief, and that's the International Monetary Fund. This chief says the global economy has shown resilience in the face of COVID war and high rates. So if he's saying that, maybe they want to make it so it doesn't have any resilience, because I don't trust the IMF at all. They are not in it for the greater good. When you tank the economy and raise business taxes, it's not conducive for young folks making their own businesses. Shocking. Yeah, there you go. Upa gets it. Washington. The global economy has shown remarkable resilience, but still bears deep scars from the coronavirus pandemic. In the war in Ukraine and rising interest rates, the head of the International Monetary Fund said Thursday. This war in Ukraine, why are we funding it? Why am I sending my money? Why is your money getting sent to the Ukraine? It's who cares? Really, honestly. I'm not Ukrainian, and I remember seeing Ukraine flags everywhere when it first started, and now there's nothing. Nobody's like, yay, Ukraine, and they even honored The stupid Canadian government even had like a guy that fought against Russia in World War II. You know who he was with? He was with the Nazis, for God's sake. Like, what a bunch of idiots. Just to have on own, they were trying to own Russia. And we're like, yeah, look at this guy. He fought against the Russians. Yeah, he was a Nazi, you idiots. So I can't believe that happened. But this whole Ukraine thing, like, just get out of there. Don't even bother. Like, I think, it's pointless. Anyway, it's just a way to launder money through there, and also the military-industrial complex loves their money. Because, if there's no war going on, you can't sell weapons, missiles, bullets, anything like that. So, gotta always have some conflict somewhere. While the recovery from the shocks of the past few years continues, it's slow and it's uneven. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said in a speech in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, ahead of next week's fall meetings of the IMF and the World Bank. Global economic growth is likely to remain well below 3.8% of the past 2 decades, and the world has lost $3.7 trillion in economic output from successive shocks since 2020. Georgieva said. The IMF releases its official growth forecast Tuesday. The United States, she said, is the only major economy where output has returned to its pre-pandemic path. The rest of the world is still below trend. Them celebrating the Yahtzee is just the mask slipping off? Yeah. Yeah, like, it was disgusting when I saw that. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You guys are idiots. Goes to show you don't have to be a genius to be a politician. The poorest countries are suffering the most because they have a limited ability to buffer their economies and support the most vulnerable, she said, weighing on global growth in China's disappointing recovery despite the lifting late last year of draconian zero-COVID policies which had crippled commerce in the world's second biggest economy last year. Still, Georgieva said the world economy has proven unexpectedly sturdy in the face of higher interest rates engineered by the U.S. Federal Reserve and other central banks to fight inflation that surged over the past 2 years. She said the odds are rising that global economy can manage a soft landing, avoiding recession, even while bringing down inflationary pressure. Fighting inflation is the number one priority, she said, urging central banks to keep interest rates higher for longer, paramount to avoid a premature easing of policy given the risk of resurging inflation. The IMF World Bank meetings begin Monday in Marrakesh, Morocco. So they should have never lowered the interest rates down to zero anyway. That was just during the Obama administration to make everything really good for him. So that people were like, wow, this guy's great. Look at this. Everything's awesome. There's low interest rates and we can do lots of money borrowing, blah, blah, blah. But it should never have gone to zero. You should always have kept it, at least at 5% or something like that. But nope. Now when you got it, everyone mortgaged up to the hilt, and as soon as you raise those rates up, boom, people lose their houses. And that is what happened in the 1980s. When interest rates were like at 18%, 23%? It was crazy. People were just giving the banks their keys to their houses and being like, here you go, it's yours now. They're just talking out of their ass. Don't know anyone showing resilience in the economy right now in the real world. Yes, exactly. They talk all about, we got to fight inflation. You want to fight inflation? Stop printing so much money. Because that's all that inflation means. Inflation is the growth of the money supply. If you have more money, it's going to dilute the cost of things. So you think things have gone up in price, but no, your money is just worth less. Right? So if you have a glass, water, or a glass of iced tea, and you pour more water into it, it dilutes it. Yeah, you have more, but it's not as strong. It's not as doesn't taste like it should. Right? And that's the same with the money supply. They keep printing more and more money. It just dilutes the value of your money. It's disgusting. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. Workers at Mack Trucks go on strike after rejecting tentative contract deal. Auto workers stop expanding strikes against Detroit 3 after GM makes battery plant concession. Okay. GM workers hit the picket lines at 3 facilities in Ontario. Okay, well, more strikes going on. And that's it for the news of the week. Moving right along. Ottawa is holding interactive skilled trades exhibit in Quebec. I just found this one today. It's from October the 4th. So that's last week. Federal government series of experimental marketing events promoting skilled trades is making a stop in Quebec this week. The interactive exhibit will be held in Montreal today and tomorrow at the Job and Continuing Education Fair at the Palais des Congrès de Montreal. Another such event will take place October 12th, 13th at National Job Fair at the Olympic Stadium. 3 strikes and they're out of there. You're out of there. Skilled trades workers are the backbone of the Canadian economy. With demographic shifts and higher retirement rates, Canada needs more skilled trades workers. This is what I've been saying ever since Trades Talk started. 49 episodes ago. Said Randy Boissonnault, Minister of Employment, Workforce, Development, and Official Languages. These rewarding careers are an integral part of several industries across the country. Our government continues to raise awareness about the great careers available to young Canadians in trades. We are building a robust and diverse skilled trades workforce now for the economy of the future. Ottawa announced the awareness campaign for skilled trades last month with the first stop in Ottawa. Under the campaign, individuals can learn about different skilled trades careers, find in-demand trades in their province or territory, and discover the steps it takes to become a skilled trades worker. The exhibit focuses on creating an in-person and immersive experience and directs participants to a repository of information about what the skilled trades are, how to get started, which trades are the most in demand. Well, I do that on my channel. I do that here. Like, you want to know what they are, I can tell you. You want to know how to get started, I can tell you that too. Which ones are most in demand? And a little searching, we can find out what's most in demand. Also, looking on Indeed will help you out very greatly. It's an excellent place to get the information about which jobs are available in your area. Ottawa collaborates with Skills Canada to promote the skilled trades. Adding Quebecois to the skilled trades? Terrible. No one is going to want to be tradesmen if they have to work the Frenchies. That's okay. They usually stay in their province anyway. I'm sure they don't like coming out here where people don't speak French. Events like these help Canadian youth learn more about the important and rewarding careers that exist in the skilled trades and technologies, said Sean Thorson, CEO of Skills Canada. To highlight these careers, Skills Canada hosts activities like our annual skills competition that provide experimental learning through hands-on challenges in more than 40 skilled trades and technology occupations. Join us at the 2024 Skills Canada National Competition in Quebec, where we are #creating possibilities for our future skilled workforce while strengthening our global economy. Trades with attractive employment outlooks. In Quebec, the construction industry makes up 38% of employment in Red Seal trade related occupations. In the Montreal area, several Red Seal trades across sectors have attractive employment outlooks for the 2022 to 2044 period. Says Ottawa, these include, here we go, automotive service technician, truck and transport mechanic, baker, concrete finisher, industrial mechanic, cook, tower crane operator, electrician, floor covering installer, hairstylist, refrigeration and air conditioning mechanic, heavy equipment operator, industrial electricians, ironworkers, landscape horticulturalists, machinist, motorcycle mechanic, recreational vehicle service technician, sheet metal worker, tile setter, and welder. Canada is facing a huge labor shortage in the skilled trades. We know this already. I know this already. I know you guys know this already. We got to tell other people that it's not just Canada, the U.S. as well. They're facing a huge labor shortage. It's huge. I tell you, it's huge. Labor shortage. You guys got to spread the word. The Canadian Apprenticeship Forum estimates that from 2022 to 2026, over 122,000 new journeyman persons just sounds stupid. Journeymen will be required to sustain workforce certification across Red Seal trades in Canada. Of these, more than 92,000 journeymen will be concentrated in the top 15 national in-demand Red Seal trades, which include cook, industrial electrician, painter, and decorator, and welder. Also, according to BuildForce Canada, the construction industry needs to recruit 200,000 new workers over the next decade by 2032, driven predominantly by the expected retirement of 245,100 workers, 20% of the 2022 labor force. However, 76% of Canadians say they would never pursue a skilled trade for themselves, finds a previous 3M Canada report. That's a lot. That's like 3/4 of the population saying they would never pursue a skilled trade. That's because they don't know enough about it. Got to get the word out. Get it out early. When they're in high school, tell them what the advantage is. Show them that it's all right, that you can do that. You can make a good living. I was always told when I was in high school, oh, you got to go to university. You got to go to university. And I didn't. I didn't go to university because there was nothing there that I wanted to take and nothing there that would have done any good. So I take trade school, boom. It did good for me. Here are some ways employers can find skilled trades workers they need in 2023, according to Tradesmen International. Leverage your existing network. Promote inter-organization communication. Incentivize employee referrals. Consider providing skills training for your own team. And that's what you do. All right. Well, hopefully they're doing this. And I know they're doing it in Quebec. They got to do it all over the place. Every major city in the U.S. and Canada, they should have some sort of trades fair or something like that, showing the people like, hey, this is what you can get into. This is what it's like. This is what you'll make. You know, it's necessary. It's going to be very necessary. This is something that AI can't do. AI can't take the skilled trades away from you. I still need to go out there in person and swap out a pump, a motor. You know, I need to go out there and troubleshoot, you know, why this thing's overheating. I need to clean out the radiator of a compressor, all that stuff. AI is not going to do that. It's not going to go out there and figure it out. Anyway, now's the time you guys like the most of was when we do pictures. You guys like pictures? Let me see if I can find something here for you. This. Found it the other day. I wanted to show this to Godzillionaire too. I thought he'd get a real kick out of it. Oh man. Oh, if I didn't, that sucks. Bring it in next week. The time we like most waifus? Well, you know, I can always do waifus too because, you know, this is why I like Brave as a browser. You can set up Brave to have your own background. And I set mine up with waifus, of course. Every time you refresh or make a new window, you get a new background. New background of waifus. And that's fun. So do yourself a favor, download Brave, the Brave browser, and you can set it up so you too can have some waifus. Alright, well, I'm going to have to get that picture the next time. Yes, DJ Ronnie G, Metal, yeah. I love me some Galaxy Express 3.9. Lee J. Matsumoto does such a good job with his universe. Galaxy Express, Captain Harlock, Queen Emeraldas, Uchu Senkan Yamato. Anyway, here's something that Godzillionaire mentioned last stream. Molten salt power plant.
People have this perception that molten salts at 700 degrees are highly corrosive, but that's not necessarily true. We have developed processes.
And this is from Copenhagen Atomics.
Really low, and once you keep them low, then these salts are inherently stable and they result in very, very low corrosion rates.
So Thomas, why are you spending so much time on molten salts?
Well, we are in the process of developing our first molten salt reactor. And just for
so it's a molten salt reactor from Copenhagen.
To be purified is that we don't have to be battling corrosion, but we can focus on the actual reactor development. When we first started, there were no suppliers of these salts, so we had to sort of develop the processes ourselves, both for our internal development, but we could also see that there was a general need in the market for purified salts. We are involved in a number of projects related to molten salts. That's, for example, thermal energy storage, next generation of concentrated solar power, and then, of course, our molten salt reactors. What makes us different from the normal supplier of RENA is that we have actually purified the salts and certified them, and you don't have to deal with powder. You get them as ingots or in canisters where they can be pumped into your system.
Huh.
So all the hassle related to dealing with powder that has to be dried, we have taken care of all that. And
So these guys look like they're doing it right. They're providing the raw materials in ingot form or in canisters already.
How can people reach out to you about the molten salt?
Well, go to our homepage, CopenhagenAtomics.com. Just reach out and we'll get back to you.
Copenhagen Atomics. I was hoping to see a power plant in action here. Thorium molten salt reactors. I've heard of thorium before. A lot of people, I think it being suppressed myself, but they do tout. I've heard them tout thorium before. Same guys, Copenhagen Atomics, 3 months ago. Commercial nuclear energy. Quite a long one.
I'm Thomas Jan Petersen. I'm one of the co-inventors of a new nuclear technology that can transform the green energy space. We are in Copenhagen Atomics. We're big believers of this, what it says on the back of our t-shirts, energy equals prosperity. And we believe that there's lots of people in this world who would like to have the same prosperity level as I've experienced in my life, and even people who want to improve beyond that. Copenhagen Atomics has developed a new type of nuclear technology that is completely different from all the other types of nuclear technologies we've seen out there. One of the key benefits is that we can supply green energy at a lower cost than any other technology, and we're willing to do price matches. We can beat anything, fossil fuels, wind and solar, fusion, whatever.
So they're saying they can beat anybody on lowest cost of energy.
Game changer.
They can match anybody's price with what they're doing.
The nuclear industry has been used to a situation
No taxpayer investments.
and the governments was running.
All right, Copenhagen Atomics finance, build, own, and operate the nuclear power plant, and we decommission it at their end of life. And 3, Copenhagen Atomics reactors are able to burn nuclear waste and reduce storage from 100,000 to 300 years. That, to me, that's it right there. You've got a reactor that can burn nuclear waste. Well, that's awesome. Nuclear waste was always the thing. They always had to either deep well or try to store away for like 100,000 years, you know, because the half-life and everything of being still radioactive. But if you can have these guys burn nuclear waste, why aren't people jumping on this like right now?
And we've seen some terrible situations in the past where huge cost overruns and very delayed nuclear power plant projects. We don't want to take that pathway. The projects we want to run, Copenhagen Atomics will finance, build, own, and operate the power plants. We will also decommission and recycle the power plants at the end of life. So it's a completely commercial nuclear power station. It's the same as you find with other energy technologies where it's also a
Why hasn't this been spread across the news? Like, this should be like the top
and then the third
top
thing
stories.
is also really, really important. It's about the nuclear waste. Our new technology is able to take spent fuel from classical nuclear reactors and burn that spent fuel and get 10 times more energy out of it when we burn it compared to when the first reactors were used.
It says they get 10 times more energy out of burning the spent nuclear waste from other plants.
Putting it in deep geological storage. And of course, the waste that comes out of our reactors are much less of a problem. It only needs to be stored for 300 years above ground versus the normal 100,000 years in deep.
Yeah, their waste, he says, just needs to be stored for 300 years.
And one of the reasons this technology
and
is
above
possible
ground.
now is because we're using a new type of fuel called thorium. Thorium is a metal. It's an element in the periodic table. A ball this size made out of thorium can supply you with all the energy you need for your entire
So it looks like a golf ball sized ball of thorium can supply you with all the energy you need for your entire life. That's unreal.
Your share of roads and houses and hospitals. So it's really amazing that you can get all that energy out of this little ball. And there's plenty of thorium on this planet. We will never run out of it. There's thorium in almost all countries of this planet. And the cost of a ball like this is roughly $100. So it's phenomenal.
It says it's only $100 for the golf ball sized piece of thorium. Why are we not doing this?
The second thing we bring into this equation is that we're going to mass manufacture these reactors on assembly lines. So it's not like the classical nuclear reactors where it's built on site and it takes 10 years and they employ 5,000 people or whatever. We built them on an assembly line just like we build cars and airplanes. We can build one reactor every day. And these reactors fit inside roughly the same as a...
So it looks like mass production for these thorium reactors. He says it can build one a day in their plant.
This is a picture of
just like assembly line.
A power plant like ours look like. In this case, it's a 1 gigawatt nuclear power plant. And the building we built is similar to any other distribution center that you see in logistics companies. We humans can build those buildings in 2 months. And then inside you see an array of nuclear reactors. In this case, for 1 gigawatt electric, we need 25 reactors on a row, and we need a few extra boxes to be able to swap things in and out during the lifetime of the plant. In the next couple of pictures, there are some close-up. And one of the things in these new type of reactors, inside the reactor building, there's not supposed to be any humans for the 50 years that the reactors are operating. We operate everything remote controls, the cranes. We will have robots in there that are remote controls. So no humans in the building, so no problems with humans making mistakes.
Because there's not going to be any humans in the building. It's all going to be run by remote control and robots. And the lifetime of a reactor, it looks like, is 50 years.
We generate heat, and then that heat needs to be converted into electricity. So the things you see there in the background, the buffer tanks, the big round tanks, and the steam generators, and in the buildings in the background, you would have the steam turbines. Those things behind our building is operated by other companies. We only operate the nuclear building itself. Then there's this overview, and this really tells you why this is a huge game changer for the, first of all, the green transition, but also for the energy sector as a whole. When you compare the amount of energy you need to put into a system versus the amount of energy you get out of the system throughout the lifetime, it's really game changing. On the right-hand side, the orange pillow there,
and who's trying to get people on board here?
We are at least an
Hopefully they can
more if Copenhagen Atomics waste burner technology. On the right-hand side, we have the traditional uranium-based light water reactors, and I understand that Poland, for example, have just decided to build 10 of those power plants on the right-hand side. Then in the middle column, we have sort of what is commonly termed uranium-based molten salt reactors, and sometimes it's dangerous. And actually, I don't know where the majority in the public got that idea that nuclear is dangerous. It's so far away from the truth. These are numbers from international studies, and they're put out again.
Now he's explaining what the safest energy sources are. Apparently, coal has more deaths than oil and natural gas, than biomass, hydropower, wind, nuclear, and then solar has the least amount of deaths.
A lot of times, if people want to install a new power plant, they're thinking, should we of the public? So this icon up here represents spent nuclear fuel from classical nuclear reactors, and it's radioactive, yes. If you look inside that drum, what is actually in there? 95% of the atoms in there are uranium atoms. They are exactly the same atoms as what we got out of the ground many years earlier from mining. They have not changed at all. It's not super dangerous.
I don't know. This looks like a good thing. I would definitely, if we hear more about it and people picking up on it, this would be the way to go. But I don't know who is stopping it. Who is not letting this go through?
And what we can do there is fuel. Then you might ask, okay, so that's
They're building the first prototype reactor in Copenhagen.
Copenhagen Atomics is already building the first thorium reactors in Copenhagen and testing them. We are the only company in the world currently building full-scale thorium reactors. We plan to have the first demonstration reactor ready in 2025. And we plan
Says it's going to be ready in 2025.
Commercial reactor ready in 2028, and then shortly after that we will start the assembly line production. And right now we are looking for.
I don't know if these guys will get off the ground or whether they'll be stymied, because if you make it so that everyone has all sorts of power, then what's the government going to do to break you? I know they like to have a stranglehold on controlling the populace, and if everyone has enough energy and it's not very polluting and all that, people will be a lot freer to do what they like.
Technology can easily make 100x on return on investment for investors who invest now, sort of 100x in 10 years. So that's
yeah. So he's talking to investors.
Or hearing more about this technology, then feel free to come to our booth. It's right around the corner out here.
So that's interesting. Thorium. I have heard of thorium before. It's always been poo-pooed. A lot of people have been like, oh, no, that's stupid. It's a lie, blah, blah, blah. But then how do you know? And it looks like they're doing something about it. And it could be what helps fix up the energy shortage. So here's one of the more extreme machining processes you can do. It's called broaching. And broaching is pretty crazy. These guys will show us, what goes into broaching.
Broaching is a machining process in which a broach is pulled or pushed through a workpiece or along the surface of a workpiece to generate a final part shape. Broaching is used extensively in machining gears, holes, splines, and keyways.
So yeah, it says it's pushed or pulled through a workpiece. So that's a pretty extreme machining operation. Lots of heat, usually generated, so you usually need lots of oil, lubrication, just to make it so that it doesn't get seized up in there. But it's a very extreme process. But it's necessary for making, splines and such, keyways, whatever it may be.
The broaching process is economical when achieving quality of finish and close tolerances are essential. The broach, also known as the broaching tool, has a series of teeth that gradually increase in circumference or height over the length of the tool.
Yeah, it starts little and then gets bigger
Each
and all that.
helps to remove a predetermined amount of
There
material
you go.
when the broach
See
moves
that?
along the workpiece and cuts deeper than the previous tooth.
So it makes a nice curl of
Both roughing and finishing cuts can be achieved in a single pass
sheet,
of
the
the
piece
broaching
of steel there,
operation, which enables
cuts
the
it nice.
material to be removed at a faster rate and with high precision. Broaching operations can be classified as internal broaching and external broaching, also known as surface broaching.
So yeah,
based on
internal
the
and
machining
external
surface
broaching.
of the workpiece. Internal broaching
Yes,
is used
DJ
for
Ronnie,
machining
we're broaching the
interior
topic.
surfaces
It had to be
such as
said.
round holes, splined holes, and irregular shaped holes. Surface broaching is used for machining exterior surfaces such as flat, concave, convex, serrated, or cam-shaped profiles. Both of these broaching operations are performed in a path parallel to the axis of the broach. Broaching operations can be classified as linear broaching or rotary broaching, based on the movement of the
You saw an
broach in
AV video
relation to
about
the
how to broach a
workpiece.
square hole. Ah, yes.
When the broach travels linearly up and down or
Yeah.
side to side,
Like
in
it's
relation to the
it's very good
workpiece,
for what it
it
needs
is
to do.
called linear broaching. In rotary broaching, the broach and the workpiece rotate together. The broach moves into the workpiece, making successive cuts. Rotary broaching is referred to as wobble broaching. Wobble broaching is economical for smaller production runs.
Okay.
Special broaching operations such as punch broaching, die broaching, and single point broaching are used when the broach shape cannot pass all the way through the workpiece. Punch broaching uses a broach to cut internally in the component. Punch broaching is used for high volume production. The punch broach removes a predetermined amount of material in one pass, similar to the shaping process. Either the workpiece or the tool holder
Oh, yes.
is
It gradually
indexed to
takes off more
subsequent
and
punch
more.
tools until the final shape is
There you go.
produced. Die broaching uses a broach to cut externally on the component. Die broaching is used for high volume production. A die broach has a set of internal teeth that engulf the workpiece to produce the shape in the external surface in one single pass. Either the workpiece or the tool holder is indexed to subsequent die broaches until the final shape is produced. Unlike punch broaching, single point broaching requires multiple passes to machine a portion of the final shape. The single point broaching tool is then indexed around the workpiece to produce the final shape.
Okay.
The broaching processes are typically done on a broaching machine. Computer numerical control, or CNC mills and CNC lathes, can also be used for broaching with wobble or rotary and single point
And
broaches.
sometimes it's done by just using your
Compared to
muscle,
other
but
machining
most of the time it'd
processes,
be
the
hydraulically
advantages of
controlled, I would
broaching
think.
include faster machining, as both the roughing and finishing cuts are done in one pass. Longer tool life, as each tooth of the tool passes only once on the workpiece. A broad range of materials can
I would
be
think you'd have to
broached,
clean up the edges as well
and
after
the
it's broached
ability to
so that
produce
you don't get cut. It's
difficult-to-machine
probably razor sharp.
features. Compared to other machining processes, the limitations of broaching include higher tooling costs. It is not recommended for removal of a large amount of material.
Yeah, higher costs for
and the
tools,
taper tools and
not recommended for
grooves
large,
cannot be broached.
a removal of large amount of material. Okay. There you go. That's broaching. An extreme machining process, but can be very accurate. And it can do some things that other operations can't do. Here's something that got mentioned last week, and it was friction welding. This is pretty cool. They call it inertia welding.
How does inertia welding work? Basically, by forcing together pieces to be joined in such a way that rotary motion and pressure are converted into heat.
So the left-hand side is
to bond
spinning,
pieces into one part.
and the right-hand side is stationary, and it just pushes together. If you get to a certain speed, it pushes together,
Two pieces
and
to be
just the
joined are
friction
aligned in an inertia
makes it
welding
white
machine.
hot, and it melts the two pieces together. We'll see. This is the guy. He's doing it right now.
One piece is held stationary, the other is rotated
So
rapidly
he'll fire up
using
that
a
chuck.
attached to a flywheel.
Get her
When
up
the
to
flywheel
speed.
reaches a predetermined speed, it is disengaged and the freewheeling piece is forced against the stationary piece. Friction between the parts heats the budding surfaces to forging temperature. Just before rotation ceases, the two pieces bond automatically. When the
Now
flywheel
those two pieces are
stops,
bonded
the
together.
weld is complete.
That's crazy. Wish I could see what they did afterwards to clean it up and make it what kind of practical usage. Yeah, that would be neat. But yeah, that was friction, inertia friction welding. I'm not quite sure what they use it for.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Frame Channel. Friction is the invisible and unavoidable force present in all processes which involve contact and movement between two surfaces. Friction generates heat as it tends to work against productive movement.
There we go. A little bit of cutting, a little bit of grinding.
Advances to reduce the losses and heat of friction are a strong focus in mechanical engineering. Friction cannot altogether be avoided. However, friction can be harnessed to create heat with mechanical movement without the use of additional fuel. Friction welding is one industrial process that harnesses and uses the heat produced during friction.
Crazy.
It takes advantage of the natural heating of objects in motion and exploits it to an industrial scale. The intense friction technology fuses metal parts in seconds. It uses only friction to convert mechanical energy into the heat power needed.
So I wonder what
to
they're
weld
what are they
solid metal.
what are they making there?
Oddly enough, friction welding is as much defined for what it lacks as what this extreme process involves. How did friction welding get this far? Is friction welding the best process to use in manufacturing today? Electrical arc welding became the best available welding technology through most of the 20th century, providing further weld reliability. It was not until the 1960s when a manufacturing process was developed into what we know to be friction welding today. Friction welding is one of the most contemporary welding developments of the current era. Unlike fusion welding, where melting and rapid solidification occurs, welding with friction does not melt the metal. In fact, friction welding is a solid-state process where intense heat plasticizes the material, which often glows red hot under intense pressure. The material then re-hardens as it cools, forming an exceptionally strong bond, all without melting the working metal. Friction welding only requires two components for success. Relative motion of the mandrel surface to another is needed. Second, mechanical pressure is required to force the welding surfaces together. Extreme heat is generated when the interface between the two surfaces
rotation
is
and
rotated or scrubbed together under the
push
pressure
it
of
together.
hundreds of tons of force. The relative rotating or scrubbing motion is known as the kinetic force.
Go for that robot arm.
Pressure squeezing the work together is known as the forging force. Kinetic energy input into friction welding machines is driven by powerful electric motors or hydraulic actuators. Applications that necessitate
You don't even have to have
use of
somebody
friction
grab the
welding
thing. The
either require
robot
a
does
very
it for
strong
them.
and homogeneous weld bond, high manufacturing repeatability, weight savings, or a combination of all three. Since friction welds use no consumable weld material, mass-produced welds can be cheaper and quicker to produce.
Yeah, you don't need any filler material or anything for doing this kind
Several
of
variations
welding.
in friction welding have been developed, which provide individual advantages for different part geometries.
That one's not rotating, it's shaking.
Rotary friction welding will be used when at least one of the parts can be rotated about a symmetrical axis. The relative motion for heat creation is by rotation. 400 to 1500 RPM causes intense frictional heat for rotary friction welding. Shafts, spindles, or rings are often friction welded with rotary friction welding. Linear friction welding is mostly useful for parts with non-symmetrical or complex part geometry.
Okay, that's pretty crazy looking. It's managed to move back and
The
forth,
relative motion creating
heat it
heat
up.
is caused by a back and forth oscillation or scrubbing motion. case of linear friction welding, oscillations of 100 to 240 Hz are typical. Friction stir welding is a specialized friction welding process that employs the same principles as other variations of friction welding, but allows for both fused parts to remain stationary by the use of a non-consumable pin tool, which is plunged into the interface and forced through the material. The material is heated to a plastic condition, and the interface is mixed mechanically. Then, as the tool passes through the interface, the wake is cooled to produce a strong, smooth, forged joint.
Wow, I've never seen that before. That's crazy.
Applications for friction welding vary in nature. The needs of manufacturing near the extreme limits of material strength often advantage the use of friction welding. Friction welding may be seen in turbochargers, spindles, welding of dissimilar electrodes, automotive parts assembly, or in turbine and compressor blades. The incredible versatility of friction welding is known in the manufacturing industry, even in the field of rocket science. For instance, NASA's famous rocket engine, the RS-25, was built by California-based company Aerojet Rocketdyne. A total of 16 of these rocket engines have been built so far by this aerospace company, which is worth over $4 billion. In 2016, a crucial friction welding application was proposed to construct the new RS-25 rocket engines. Friction welding, commissioned by the Friction Welding Specialists at Manufacturing Technology, Inc., MTI, provided a fast and reliable process for components of the rocket engines. During 4 days of operational friction welding, the MTI's upgrades made more than 600 welds that led to the completion of the RS-25 booster engine, ahead of schedule.
Can't hear that puny engine over the glorious roar of Rocketdyne.
Providing advantages in the manufacture
So
of the
true.
specific need of the end product.
But they used it on the rocket engine. Apparently it worked out well. So
Large, bulky geometry,
friction
extreme
welding
strength
for the win, it
requirements
looks like.
Similar metals, or the need for high heat tolerance. Friction welding harnesses the natural friction force, requires no consumable weld stock, produces a strong weld, and does it all without melting metal. With no harmful arc glare, no fumes, no smoke, and no radiations, this intense friction welding technology is gaining ground across the globe.
Well, I wonder what the noise is like, though. It says no smoke and everything like that, and no consumables. But I wonder how loud it is.
On the Frame channel. I hope you enjoyed it.
There's no win until it is putting a squalid wretch on moon. We will put you on moon with just by friction. So yeah, there you go. Friction welding, you guys. Isn't that something? What did I have here? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll leave that for next time then. Good enough. You know what? Put the fool on moon, F1, and it did so in Imperial unit. This inferior machine was likely created with... I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I do like working in metric sometimes. It's very nice to work in decimals rather than fractions. 0.4 millimeters or what? 1/32nd? 1/64th of an inch? Or 3/64ths of an inch? I'll just work in 0.4 millimeters, 0.5, all that good stuff. All the stuff you like, JT. Woopa Troopa? Did he just... Here, have some waifus to look at. That'll calm you down. There you go. Have some waifu. Have a bunch of them. There you go. Well, all right. That's another episode of Trades Talk, everybody. I hope you had a good time. I hope things are getting better for everyone out there. We gotta have jobs for everyone. Yeah, Yamomo. Yeah, she's a good waifu, isn't she? Creati is what they call her in her hero name. But yeah, it was a good time, and like I say, I hope things are going well for you guys. Jake D, you got to tell me more about when you get your stuff in for your computer. I'm kicking myself because I should have done a video when I upgraded my iMac to an SSD and added more RAM as well. It can take a maximum of 4 gigabytes, so I put the maximum in. And it was cheap. Bought it from Amazon. Nice cheap RAM. And it's still going strong. Still watch YouTube on it, and it's from 2007. So yeah. Hey, if you guys could do me a favor and just slap that like button, subscribe, tell the people. There's this guy, he shows up on Tuesdays, talks about the trades. Seems to know what he's talking about. And besides, he's mandatory, Wupstotska mandatory watching. You were part of Wupstotska, it's mandatory you watch Comrade Mechanic. There's other good channels out there too. As we saw, Ronin66 stopped in. I watch him. He's got some good stuff. A couple of hot takes sometimes. Pacific 4 and 4. Mike's got a good channel. There's Blaine from Blaine's Escape Corner. DJ Ronnie G, who is in the chat, and he has his own channel. I've tuned in. Brandon the Anime Guy. Nerdporo Lifeform. Angry Canadian. And Woopa, Comrade Woopa, we'd like to see you back into the streaming again, buddy. Hopefully you can soon. He is devilishly good looking. And don't forget Punkwaddle. Punkwaddle's out there. He's probably on streaming right now. Floral from Under a Rock. And I got a Discord. It's called The Shop because, all the tradesmen hang out at the shop. That's what we do. Coming up, Saturday, game day. It's Castlevania 3 time. I am working my way through, and I'm hoping to beat Castlevania 3 before the end of the month. I gotta do it. It's a little more difficult than Castlevania 2 was, that's for sure. Sunday is coming up. That is Anime Chat. And this month's theme is cosplay, animes that have cosplay in them. So, if you like cosplay or anime, come on out and let's watch some anime about cosplay. Guaranteed there's some real good ones out there. And I'm finding them and bringing them to you, serving them up. So hopefully you guys dig in. And then, we'll circling right back again to Tuesday. It'll be Trades Talk. I'll have more pictures, more videos, more interesting things to see out there. And we can learn a thing or two together about the skilled trades. And I hope to see you guys there. Maybe you can soon. I hope so. I really liked your nice chill streams, playing the games. It was always a good time. So yes, until Saturday, everyone, in which I hope to see you, because it'll be game day, I have been your host, the Pop Culture Mechanic, and I am signing off.